We got a developing situation in the NFL. Did Brian Flores just say all of the right things, yet somehow manage to end his own career? We roll immediately with Tua Tagovailoa appearing on the Dan Le Batard Show, talking openly about the verbal and emotional abuse he says he suffered, courtesy of Brian Flores. Look at this.
If you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do,
wow,
that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right.
And then Tua continues on, because whether you're hearing good stuff or bad stuff, you keep hearing it, you start to believe it, right? Listen to this.
And then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate, you are the best whatever, you are this, you are that. Like, how would it make you feel listening to one or the other? You see what I'm saying? And then you hear it, regardless of what it is, the good or the bad. And you hear it more and more. You start to actually believe that.
Yes, you do. That's just how life works. But then Tua went there. He's not talking about coaching. He's talking about being a human being. Listen to what he said about Brian Flores.
You have a terrible person that's telling you things that you don't want to hear, or that you probably shouldn't be hearing. You're going to start to believe that about yourself.
Indeed, you will. Continue on. We do. Speaking of, NFL insider Jeff Darlington reminding you of bombshells involving Flores, the Dolphins, that termination. Listen to what he said about what actually took place in Miami.
When he's talking about going out and getting someone else, he's talking about Deshaun Watson and Flores' flirtations with that quarterback. When he's talking about being told that he sucks. Those are real things that happen via text message from Flores to Tua. These are all things that happen. And by the way, these are all things I had reported at the time led to Brian Flores firing. The relationship between Tua Tagovailoa and Brian Flores and the deterioration of it is precisely the reason Flores was no longer the coach after that year.
It is important to remember that prior to the draft, Flores did not want a Tua. He wanted Justin Herbert. Stephen Ross wanted Tua. That's a problem, because now you've got the issue, which Ross has to make a decision, and he sides with Tua. Look at this.
Stephen Ross made it very clear to Tua after that happened. We're going to make this better for you. We did not do good things for you by having Brian Flores as your coach, and we're going to go in a different direction.
Brian Flores sued the Dolphins for termination based, he said, on discrimination, then sued the NFL, many teams, about hiring practices claiming discrimination. But now you've got a journalist talking about coaching malpractice. Listen to this.
Very clearly, and this is where the coaching malpractice comes into play for Brian Flores. What he was doing for Tua did not work and was a failed effort in coaching. That, to me, is the biggest malpractice here.
Those are strong words from a journalist, from a reporter. The question is on the board. Question, do the Dolphins have a culture problem? It's ironic, isn't it? Because Miami's the city of culture in professional sport when it comes to the Miami Heat. Udonis Haslem, the Pat Riley way. It has been the modern father of culture in sports, the Miami Heat. But the Dolphins have had an issue for over a decade. Remember the Jonathan Martin situation, the bullying situation, the suicidal thoughts that came from that, Richie Incognito being released, being traded, winding up elsewhere in the AFC East? The Dolphins had a bad culture. That started it. Then you've got Stephen Ross, who was trying to successfully was tampering with Tom Brady while Brady was a Patriot in 2019. Stephen Ross trying to talk to him about coming to play for Miami, trying to be a part owner, then pretend to retire, and then come out of retirement in August and, I want to play again. And also doing it with Sean Payton. These aren't allegations. These were proven. Don't forget, the NFL did an independent investigation and found the tampering. That's why Stephen Ross was suspended. That's why the Dolphins lost draft picks in 2023 and 2024. No first rounder this year. Culture seems to be on the right track now. Mike McDaniel is the right hire, the right guy for that. The culture problems seem to be correcting. But yeah, they sure did in Miami. But wait, there's more. Presented by X Golf. Coming to West Palm Beach, X Golf WPB on Instagram. Follow now, changing golf forever. Brian Flores, this is the good stuff. Now, having to speak, having to address these allegations. Listen closely to what he says. Watch closely for the emotion. Watch for how uncomfortable he is with all of this. Take a look.
Specific to, the comments that were made by Tua, I just want to say, look, I'm I'm happy, genuinely happy, genuinely happy for the success that Tua's had. And I really wish him nothing but the best.
In truth telling, when you're trying to remember, there's nothing to remember when you tell the truth. He's looking for words here. Did you see the awkwardness there at the end of that? See a little bit of that, not sure where to go with that? He's saying the right things, but he also realizes he's about to pay a huge price for that. Listen, because now we've got Flores doing the right thing again and talking about 2-1, but also going right back into coach speak. This is fascinating. Look at this.
I wish nothing but the best to Tua. Really, more than anything, I'm just focused on the Vikings, the 2024 Vikings, the players we have.
Notice that the words were slow in the beginning, not sure, picking them very carefully, being very careful and cautious because of his own lawsuit that's still pending, and then goes right to coach speak and starts just spitting that out rapid fire. Meanwhile, is he getting emotional here? Take a look, because Brian Flores has a couple of moments in which physically it appears, and certain verbally you can hear what sounds like he is getting emotional in the midst of this. But why is that exactly? Watch this.
And I think, look, I've done a lot of reflecting and on this situation, and
wow,
reflecting on the situation, communication.
Whoa.
I think there's things that I could do better, for sure, and I've grown in that way, and I've tried to apply the things that I could do better and the things that I've learned, over the last, 2-3 years. But I would say over the long haul, I've had a lot of great relationships over my 21-year career here in the league.
And then he begins to defend himself, if you will, about the relationships. He did not deny. He did not attack. He did not accuse Tua of anything. You see him getting emotional. This is a problem, and I'll explain to you why in just a moment. Then he gets confronted with the fact that Tua called him a terrible person. Listen and watch closely how Flores handled this.
Look, I'm human, so, that hit me in a way that, I wouldn't say it was, positive for me. But at the same time, I've got to use that and say, hey, how can I grow from that? How can I be better?
Saying the right things, right? How can I grow from that? How can I learn from that? I'm human. I'm not perfect. Dan Le Batard, where all of this started, spoke on this, brings up a very important point. And look closely at the picture as well, because Flores wasn't standing by himself up there. Listen to what Le Batard said about what mode Flores shifted into. Look at this.
A lawsuit against the league for racism. You need friends. If you ever want to get to your dreams again and people not to remember you, you had McDaniel's results. You did. You were better in December. But people look at you and say, you screwed up Tua.
Well,
you couldn't put the pieces around him, and now he's in job-saving mode. That is crazy.
Yeah, it turned into job-saving mode just like that. You saw the players standing next to him. Fascinating. The question's on the board. Question: how damaging is this actually for Flores? This is extraordinarily damaging for Flores. He may have just ended his own coaching career. Maybe he'll be an assistant. Okay, that's fine. He wants to be a head coach again. He sued the Dolphins for termination. Wrongful termination, he said, on racial basis and other bases. But now he's admitting that, yes, he did say those things. He did mistreat a player. As a human being, he mistreated them. Forget about as a quarterback. He has not denied. He has not rejected. He's owned it. He said the right things. But with that, you also now open the door to the fact that your lawsuit is frivolous and worthless, because maybe this is why you got fired. And maybe this is why you're not getting hired. It's a little tricky when you are suing the company that you want to work for. It's a little tricky when you are suing based on how they got rid of you, one of their teams, and yet you're out here saying, I got to be better, I learned from this, etc. Because this is an assumption. This is owning it, which is the right thing to say. But it is also, in effect, ending your own coaching dreams of future head coaching opportunities. We continue on just like that to number one, presented by Twin Peaks. Eat, drink, scenic views, 29-degree beer. UFC fight headquarters is Twin Peaks. Ryan Clark had some thoughts on this. Listen closely to what the former player turned pundit and host thoughtfully had to say about this on a human level. Take a look.
But to hear Tua Tagovailoa say, you suck, or you're not good enough, or you don't belong to be here, you do have to take stock in the way that you treated another human. It's not just about coaching football. That's not the job when you get paid to be the head coach of a team. Your job is to continue to allow men to grow, to make football a safe space for growth both on the field and off.
And then you've got Ryan Clark continuing on and pointing out the fact of what I did a little earlier, and that is not only what Flores said and how he said, but it's most important of all, perhaps, what he didn't say. Look at RC on this.
He didn't attack Tua Tagovailoa.
No.
He didn't invalidate his words. He
No.
said, I need to be better.
Yeah.
Hopefully going forward, Brian Flores gets another opportunity to be a head coach. And I know he's going to work overtime to make sure that no player, whether quarterback or positional, feels that way about him as a coach, but more importantly, as a person.
The question is on the board. Question, what did RC miss here? What RC missed is while he's saying the right things and owning it and appearing to be a good human being, he is also destroying his own lawsuit and maybe providing proof as to why he was terminated in Miami and why he wasn't hired in all those other places like Denver. RC, I believe, needed to point out the simple fact that while saying the right thing and telling the truth finally can also cost you, particularly if in which the lawsuit you filed is claiming otherwise and had nothing to do, because now again, Flores has said was a bad person, not just a bad coach. And that by which is grounds enough to prove why you were terminated and why you otherwise weren't hired. Hit like, hit subscribe, watch the other videos, please. And remember, kids, while every day above ground is a good day, some are just more questionable than others. Say goodnight to the bad guy. We'll see you Friday.